Hey guys, for today's grammar lesson, it's really a build upon our last lesson in terms of the subject and the predicate. Please follow along with the notes that I'm taking, and then I'll do a couple samples, and then of course, if you guys have any questions, you can log in during office hours. At the top it says, in most sentences, subjects come before the predicate. I'm just gonna change my color here real quick. In a sentence written in inverted order, the predicate comes before the subject. So inverted order is really the new skill that we're learning. This is more of a review. Typically, our subject comes before the predicate. In the inverted order, the predicate comes first before the subject. So I'm just going to write a little second and a little first. Some sentences are written in an inverted order for variety or special emphasis. This is probably the most important thing to know, is it's just a way to mix up your sentence structure when you are writing, or if you're providing emphasis for something, then it would apply there. Example number 1. Around her neck was a beautiful necklace. Here we have our linking verb was, which is acting as our main verb, and we have necklace being the subject. Now, the reason that we know that this is the subject, a lot of students would put neck as the subject, but I am going to circle this prepositional phrase in blue, and we've been in past lessons reminding ourselves subjects and verbs are never found in a prepositional phrase. So right off the bat, we know that we can cross the prepositional phrase out because it can't contain the subject or the verb. With that said, we realize that the subject comes at the end of the sentence here. What is around her neck? A beautiful necklace. Notice that if you were simply to switch the order, a beautiful necklace was around her neck, the sentence still makes sense. The subject also follows the predicate in a sentence that begins with there or here. These are two words that are a trigger word for you to realize that the sentence structure might be inverted. So I would just draw a little star whenever you see a sentence start with there or here, it potentially is an inverted sentence. So there are more members in the chess club than in the pep club. Are is our linking verb and our main verb. Members is our subject. More is an adjective modifying members. And then we have two prep phrases. And so we know that the subject and the verb cannot be in either of the prepositional phrases. Apologize. So we know that more and then are not the subjects, members. Okay, more members. So if we flipped it around, more members are in the chess club than in the pep club. Then this says, when the subject you is understood, you being understood just simply means that it's implied. Oftentimes when your mom tells you to make the bed, she doesn't say you make the bed, she says make the bed. You know, because of tone and context, that she is talking to you. Understood subject. Ask her for help. Now, her is not asking for the help. She is receiving the request for help. So we automatically know, just as it says right here, that you are being told to ask for help. We have ask being the verb, her being the direct object, which is something we haven't learned yet, and for help being the prepositional phrase. Subjects and verbs cannot be in prepositional phrases, and the lady is not asking her own self for help. So we know you is the understood subject. Remember, with these videos, you can pause, rewind, take notes at your own pace. I'm simply moving on just for the sake of the video not being long. Exercise 1's directions say draw 1 line under each simple subject and 2 lines under each simple predicate. I like to draw the little divider line in green just to remind myself where the complete subject and complete predicate end and begin. Over the hill lies a valley rich with artifacts. This is an inverted sentence. The line still goes between the subject and the verb. We have our verb as lies, and we have our subject as valley. The reason we know this is over the hill is a prepositional phrase. And we know that our subject and our verb cannot be in a prepositional phrase. The word is an article modifying valley. We have another adjective in rich. And then we have another prepositional phrase with artifacts. Once again, subject and verb cannot be found within a prepositional phrase. So I'm going to do sample 1 and sample 2 together with you guys, and then you guys can do the rest of the activity on your own. Let me double check how many there are. So the homework is 1 through 20 all. I'm going to go ahead and complete 1 and 2 with you guys first. So if we're reviewing our notes, when it starts with here, we know that it's going to be inverted. So here are the cookies for the bake sale. We first have our simple predicate as are, which is a linking verb. You can just do the double underline and the single underline as stated in the exercise directions, but I am clarifying so you guys can have a little bit more detail as you learn. Here are the cookies for the bake sale. I know that for is a preposition. So this is the whole prepositional phrase. A prepositional phrase cannot contain the subject or the verb, so I know I can cross it out. That gives me way less words to work with. If I'm looking for the complete subject and the complete verb, I know that I would draw my green line there. You guys don't have to do this. Once again, I'm doing extra steps to ensure you understand the breakdown of each sentence. I have the as an article modifying cookies, and that leaves cookies as my subject. So I'm going to single underline it. Are is my simple predicate and cookies is my simple subject. That's how you would do number 1. Number 2 says, look at the photographers in the album. Now this one's tricky because we have 2 prepositional phrases. So right off the bat, I am noticing that this is a prepositional phrase and this is a prepositional phrase. And so you might be thinking to yourself, well, that means there's no subject. How could there be a subject? You said there's no subject or verb in the prepositional phrase. And then I have to go back up to our last note. When the subject you is understood, the predicate appears without a subject. Interestingly enough, we have our verb as look, so we would double underline it as the simple predicate. And what is the implied subject? You equals implied subject. Like I said earlier, my biggest example is when your mom tells you to do something. Set the table. She doesn't have to say you, she's just implying that you are the person who should be setting the table. A lot of times we might look around and pretend we don't know who she's talking to, but you are the person she's asking to set the table. So in this sentence, look at the photographs in the album. Whoever is speaking is indicating that the person they are talking to, the implied you, should be setting the table. Looking at the photographs in the album. That is exercise 1. You're doing 1 through 20 all. Going down to exercise 2, it says write C besides each sentence that is a command. They throw in a little word imperative here. Command and imperative, I always like to think as not an option. If my mom tells me to set the table, it's not an option. I don't have a choice. I'm just going to do it. Write I besides the sentence that is in inverted order. Change color here so we can see the difference. If the sentence is in inverted order, draw 1 line under the subject and 2 lines under the verb. So there is a second step if it's inverted. So just draw a little bracket here so you remember. The sample says under the rock was a pile of earthworms. We have was as our subject. We have was as our verb and pile as our subject. The verb came first, so it's inverted order. So I would write an I on the blank. Now, just to show you, under the rock is a prepositional phrase, and of earthworms is a prepositional phrase. So right off the bat, I can cross those out because a verb and a subject are never going to be in a prepositional phrase. I'm going to do number 1 for you, but your homework is 1 through 20 all. Number 1, wait for the bus on the right side of the street. So with this one, it's important to look for our verb and then our subject and then prepositional phrases. Wait for the bus. I automatically realize that this is an action verb. For the bus on the right side of the street. I'm automatically seeing 3 prepositions. And so I have 3 prepositional phrases. And I realize that there is an implied you. I am being told to wait for the bus on a specific side of the street. So I know that it's a command and that it's imperative, so I would write C. Hopefully this mini grammar lesson builds on what you already know about subjects and predicates. Like I said, you're doing 1 through 20 all for exercise 2 and 1 through 20 all for exercise 1. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to come in during office hours. My office hours are Tuesday and Thursday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. Hope you guys have a great weekend, and remember that grammar would be due the following Friday.